The Joe Rogan Experience.
And this is a lesson we never learned in history that we really should have. But in World War I, Woodrow Wilson said he was going to make the world safe for democracy. That was the American mission in World War I. And at the time, the world certainly was not safe for democracy. I mean, Europe was all monarchs, pretty much. And we overthrew the monarchs. The monarchy's pretty much lost. And the ones that are still there are like monarchies in name only, England and stuff like that. And then in the next decades, you had the rise of Hitler, Stalin, or Lenin, and then Stalin. And you're like, oh, man. Those monarchs don't seem so bad all of a sudden now, Like, oh, shit. It turns out you could get rid of something and something much worse can come after it.
Yeah, you need a full-length plan.
But for Obama, who even goes, I think he acknowledged at one point that Libya was his biggest mistake. And he said not having a plan for the day after Gaddafi was overthrown was a big mistake. And it's like, yeah, I sure wish we had just lived through Iraq. Like, how could you not see that coming?
Right.
How could you not be like, oh, yeah, and then after that, still tried to overthrow Assad in Syria.
Right.
And you're like, wait, so you don't see this?
That?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, fuck this? And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Yeah.
So instead, they just covertly funded the Al-Qaeda side of it. Jimmy Dore broke this down when he was on your show perfectly.
Yes.
Those guys who go like, they tell the story of Syria, and it's like the, Mike Baker, who I love, but his version of the story in Syria is like, well, Assad started killing all of his own people, and so what are we going to do? Like that's the story that they want to tell you, right? It's like, well, this guy's just so bad. He's killing all these people. You go,
is that really what Mike Baker's version of it was? It wasn't.
It's a caricature of it, but that's more or less. That's more or less it, right? I love Mike Baker, by the way.
I do too.
But the real story is that you go, okay, so if we're there, if the narrative is that we're there because Assad's killing his own people, and oh my God, I think he used a gas attack, or oh my God, I think he did this, and this is really dangerous. Well, then why is it that General Wesley Clark is telling us on video that he saw plans to have regime change in Syria in 2003?
Yeah, that was a dark video.
Why are there articles in 2007 about regime change? Because he certainly wasn't killing his own people then.
Right.
And then, as Jimmy Dore broke down perfectly, you realize that actually what happened was that the CIA and the Saudis launched this Operation Timber Sycamore, and they said that we are going to arm all of the anti-Assad rebels, largely consisting of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, in an attempt to take him out, to have the next regime change that this plan had been in the works for years. And when confronted with that threat, Assad launched a brutal war against them. Certainly killed a whole lot of people. I mean, like if there was ISIS in a town, he'd just kill everybody in the town. Like he didn't care. But the story's not as simple as like, oh, he started killing his own people, and so now we have to overthrow him. The story is we tried to overthrow him, and in response, this war broke out where something like 500,000 people died.
Was Wesley Clark, was he running for president when that happened?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe he ran before. I could be wrong about that. I think, was he one of the Democratic candidates in 2000, I believe? So I believe this was after all that.
That was a dark video when you saw him laying out the foundation that they had. And the fact that he was willing to do that and say it all in an interview on television.
Yeah. No, it was really, really creepy. And it's very hard to not look back at that and go like, okay, well, not all of it came true exactly, but certainly there has been an agenda since 9/11 to have one regime change after the next in the Middle East. It wasn't just, oh, we have to go to Afghanistan, and oh, we also have to go to Iraq because we think they have WMDs or something. It's like, well, why then have there been these 5 subsequent countries that we also have to go and overthrow? And no one ever, with the exception of Wesley Clark, no politician ever told the American people, hey, here's what our plan is.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do. Do you guys agree with this or do you not agree with this? You have no say in this. We're doing this, and each time we're going to claim that it's completely just like, oh, the humanitarian impulse, the people there.
Yeah. The difference between what's happening now and in the past is, first of all, there's so much video, right? Where you could see a guy like Wesley Clark talk about that. But also that you can see video of the events actually happening. Like, we have video of Saddam Hussein being hung. We have video of Gaddafi being captured by those rebels where they stick a knife up his ass. That video is That is one of the most bizarre videos. Gaddafi in shock, not even responding to the fact that someone just stuck a knife up his ass. Like, so just completely gripped with terror, knowing that this is the end and that the rebels have captured. And they're all screaming and yelling and fucking going crazy.
Well, that's right. And what's happened is that the corporate press has lost their monopoly on information that they had for all of our lives.
Right.
Like now it's like, well, you can get it from all these places. And that there's good and bad that comes with that. But they're also now flipping out, and you can see it. Like they're losing their grip on power and becoming more and more insane about it.
Well, they've lost the ethics of journalism. Like, like this James O'Keefe thing on CNN, where that guy who worked, was he the chief, whatever he is?
Yeah, I forget his position, but he was a pretty big CNN guy.
And the crazy thing is, they catch him on Tinder dates. So she must have been hot. Hot girls get you to talk. So he's got this hot girl, and he's telling her how they do propaganda, how they basically would accentuate anything that was wrong with Trump. They would talk about completely underplay anything that's wrong with Biden.
Which is, to be fair, pretty obvious.
Yeah.
To anyone who just has an open mind and watches CNN. But to hear him say it was powerful.
And the fact that he said they're going to do it now for climate change. Like, wow.
And that push is already starting.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just like if you were like the head of CNN and you have to give a meeting in the morning and you're like, all right, so one more time, guys. If a hot chick takes you out to a bar and starts asking you to tell her about how we're propaganda, that's James O'Keefe, all right? So please don't just start babbling about how we do propaganda.
It's so crazy. It's so weird to see it laid out like that, where, he's explaining how they do it. But what a blabbermouth. The fact that this guy, like, hey, man, this is kind of important. Like, imagine if someone heard you say this.
Yeah.
Imagine what kind of repercussions it would have on the business. Catch new episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience for free only on Spotify. Watch back catalog JRE videos on Spotify, including clips. Easily, seamlessly switch between video and audio experience. On Spotify, you can listen to the JRE in the background while using other apps and can download episodes to save on data cost, all for free. Spotify is absolutely free. You don't have to have a premium account to watch new JRE episodes. You just need to search for the JRE on your Spotify app. Go to Spotify now to get this full episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.